Turn up the lights in here, baby. Extra bright, I want y'all to see this. Turn up the lights in here, baby. You know what I need. Want you to see everything. Want you to see all of the lights.
Of Sector 1138.
Thanks to Green Lantern, Rebirth, and Blackest Night, I've taken a look beyond my galaxy at the Green Lantern's 4th volume. But there is more to look at than the 4th volume. One cannot truly fathom the depths of Rebirth, No Fear, and Recharge without an understanding of what came before.
You are capable
That's right.
of overcoming.
I'm talking about the volume that inducted 35 years of Green Lantern fans into the ranks of Atrocitus's Red Lantern Corps. The longest lasting and most hated decision made by Marvel and DC in the 1990s.
Great fear.
Let's review Green Lantern, Emerald Twilight. Perhaps the strengths of this story can be summed up in the first panel. It's a splash page of Hal Jordan, muscles bulging as he cradles a broken arm, his hair showing the telltale white streaks that would become associated with Parallax, with a half-buried and possibly half-melted child's doll reaching up to him as if to cry for help. The narration box, and by the way, this seems to be set after mainstream comics ditched thought clouds, but before narration boxes officially took their place, reads, "This is Hal Jordan. He's a Green Lantern. Maybe the best Green Lantern." Sure, there are more dramatic openings you can think of, but this is a low-energy drama, the kind that makes you think, calm before the storm. The art in this story is an obvious step down from Ethan Van Sciver's work 10 years later, but for a 1994 B-list comic, this is the norm. For an example, let's jump ahead for a moment to New Dawn, the second story in this book. When I read parts of it as New Comics, don't ask me where I got these 2 issues because I don't remember. Much of the art was the top of the line for comics at the time. There are some obvious faults, though, that keep Emerald Twilight New Dawn from reaching that level of distinction. As we go farther into the action montage portion of Emerald Twilight, the art seems to degrade, almost as if telling us this isn't the important part of the story, despite the massive relevance it has for the Green Lantern Corps. It gets less refined, less detailed, and more cartoony, culminating in a panel where Hal hip thrusts over a falling Kilowog while standing posed with a thigh as thick around as his torso and calves twice the size of his head. I never thought I would be nostalgic, is that the right word? For Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason. As we approach the battle with Sinestro, whose over-the-top caricature of evil appearance fluctuates wildly from panel to panel, the rest of the art seems to stabilize. We get a badass first look at Parallax's costume, from multiple angles no less, before the art receives a slight upgrade as we move forward to New Dawn. This art becomes more consistent as the story goes on, with the most off-putting visual issues being in the otherwise best-drawn comic, the last story. I don't know if Major Force's hands are supposed to be solid and smooth or look like the Things of their ever-loving blue-eyed variety, but his hands look like rough stone for all of 2 panels. 1 hand each. The jury is out on this one, but to me it looks like trying to put too much detail in a space where detail doesn't exist to put it. Enough with the art. How's the story? Guys. Torches. Not necessary. There's a lantern right here. See? It's glowing. Oddly colored at that. And the pitchforks? Are we in a farming community? Is it perpetually 1750 on this planet? So Hal Jordan, the hero without fear, essentially has a nervous breakdown. In an effort to undo the damage done by the cyborg Superman and Mongol, Hal uses his ring to create a fantasy world. Constructs of Cloud City and everybody Hal has ever lost who live there. A construct of a Guardian shuts down his ring for using it for personal gain. Remember that if you don't mind, demanding Hal return to Oa and stand trial for misuse of the ring. Hal flips his shit, and this is where you really see that his character has drastically changed. He demands more power to complete his goal of making this fantasy a reality, and somehow uses the construct Guardian as a source of power to recharge his ring before taking off to do exactly what they wanted him to do, but not for the same reason. Let me say that again. The Guardians demand Hal return to Oa. Hal takes off to return to Oa, and the entire Green Lantern Corps is sent to stop him. That's the level of writing we're dealing with here. As for the fight to Oa, it's okay. There's nothing spectacular about it. I find it interesting that lanterns like Tomar 2 are referred to as having been killed when they were only disarmed, while Kilowog is actually seen as a burnt and dead husk and returns, as far as I know, with no explanation as to why he's not dead down the line.
We got better.
Remember how easy it was for the Guardians to drain Hal's ring for misuse earlier? He just attacked several lanterns and killed one. Lethal Force is at least as antithetical to the Lantern Corps as using the ring for personal gain. Nobody could shut the ring off then? The highlight, of course, is the fight with Sinestro. Sinestro is well characterized here, with a hint of what's to come. He makes it obvious that when Hal resorts to rage, violence, and lethal force to defeat him, he doesn't feel that Hal's beaten him at all. There's nothing to indicate that he's surprised or unhappy at the turn of events. Almost as if he planned it all out. The Guardians, unable or unwilling to face Hal in combat themselves, I don't think we see a Guardian in actual combat until Agent Orange, give their life force to Ganthet, who at times seems to be a rogue Guardian himself in that he often disagrees drastically with his companion. As the last Guardian, Ganthet hands the last power ring to Kyle Rayner of Earth, with a pronouncement of "You shall have to do," which goes on to kick off New Dawn. Green Lantern New Dawn consists of Kyle's introduction, as well as that of his girlfriend Alex, a fate that I hope was not intended for her when she was first created as a character, and one that arguably should not have befallen her in her third appearance, and 3 separate encounters with supervillains. For this reason, it's very episodic. There are story arc elements, but it's very much a return to monthly comics without stressing them being read together. Kind of interesting, actually, considering the all eyes on me approach the creative staff took with this arc. They knew that such a drastic change would draw attention, yet instead of a complex plot, they create a string of semi-related standalones. For what they are, these aren't bad issues. Reading them in a collection, however, makes them feel forced and unrelated. Still, they do a worthwhile job of introducing you to Kyle Rayner, the differences between his rings and those we're used to, and his personal conflict. Here I am, just finished looking at the biggest Green Lantern event of the 1990s. How was it? The story was okay, it got the point across, but it didn't really do what it needed to. Coming from somebody who knows the impact of Emerald Twilight, it wasn't written in a way that you felt it. If you weren't a huge fan who really knew the vital importance of the events in these comics, the story doesn't get that across to you. The art is about the same. It's not terrible, but it doesn't portray any great skill or emphasis either. Emerald Twilight and New Dawn are mediocre works, and considering the content, that's the great crime in itself.
Iurus of Sector 1138. You are capable of overcoming great fear. Welcome to the Green Lantern Corps.
Turn up the lights in here, baby. Extra bright, I want y'all to see this. Turn up the lights in here, baby. You know what I need. Want you to see everything. Want you to see all